Good afternoon and happy Wellbeing Wednesday. Kristen Collins, excited as always to reconnect with you guys, and very reflective this week of the past week's events. I'm really appreciative for all the outreach that last week's conversation stirred. I did get to hear from a lot of you guys a feeling of, oh, it's not just me, or it's not just my family going through this major uncertainty and all this untethering. So it was really fun this past week to swap stories and just kind of support one another as we go through this incredible transition. Last night was not a full night's sleep for me, as David and I are continuing to navigate and experience. And that's what I want to talk with you guys about today, is self-care, and what is the difference between self-care and self-love, and how are we navigating feeling all of this discomfort. So that'll be our theme this week. So to start with, what is in well-being, what is the difference between self-care and self-love? I was at the grocery store, all masked up, trying to check out, and I saw on one of the magazine covers a whole article on self-care. So I'm like, oh, here we go. This is going to be the new buzzword. And in the circles that I'm really lucky to travel in, we have dialogue about this. And I do not love the word self-care, because to me, self-care, as far as taking care of yourself and your well-being, is almost like an external content where I have to take care of myself. I have to make sure that I get a massage. Love massages, by the way. But it's almost like looking at self from the outside. How am I caring for myself? And what I want you guys to contemplate is, how are you self-loving yourself? And the difference being is that because you are sitting with the imperfection, because you are sitting in the present moment, you're intrinsically motivated to care for yourself in a holistic, present, honest, vulnerable way. So I want you to digest that and contemplate that as you're moving forward with your boundary setting and your decision making, your choices. Is this coming from an external, oh, I have to self-care, I have to hit 10,000 steps, or I have to whatever? Or is it coming from a centered place of wholeness where you are defaulting into self-care from a place of self-love? And self-love is really about embracing all. It's a journey, it's not a destination, okay? We're always going to have things that we want to strive for and would prefer to have different. But it's never going to be perfect. And we're going to end today talking about consumer culture and what that's about. So in self-love, and I just wrote the chapter in my upcoming book, Her Phoenix Rising. I wrote about some of my challenges with my self-love and financial decision-making in the past, where I was really looking to self-care and feel good and get that dopamine release based on consumerism, right? I was always looking for that next hit of, oh, well, once I have that car, or once I have those shoes, or once I had that meal. So it was really cool this week when I wrote that chapter, because I'm like, gosh, that was a really challenging time. And so much so, and for those of you who have the pleasure of knowing my amazing, brilliant, financially driven husband, who thank God I'm married to, he taught me really early about debt and how just do not acquire debt. If you can't afford it, you don't do it, and that kind of thing. Well, about 3 years ago, I found myself with a large credit card bill that I really couldn't understand how I racked that thing up, but I did. And it came to the attention of David, and he very graciously worked with me to get through that period of a time of healing and reflection. And it was then, thanks to that conversation with David and his grace, that I realized, wow, I am out there buying things to try to feel good about me. Okay? And that's not self-care, and that's definitely not self-love. That's self-sabotage. So I like the conversations that are happening around well-being on financial fitness, especially during COVID. And I think it's getting us all back to basics on what really is important. right? What really is worth me putting out my credit card, my cash, me investing in to feel better or to attain what? So self-care versus self-love from that place of authenticity, the consumer economy, the marketing, the global pandemic we have of consumerism, how is that affecting your well-being as well? And sometimes we're using consumerism as a distraction, right? And we've talked a lot about distractions and how that helps us not get in touch with our inner knowing and ourselves, because we're so busy consuming or chasing after that next thing. So it distracts us from feeling the present moment. And remember, guys, the present moment isn't going to always be happy, happy, joy, joy, right? And often it's in the discomfort of the difficult times that we experience the most growth. So I'd like to share with you guys, as I often like to share something. I'm going back to one of my Bibles when it comes to self-care and actualization and self-love. And that's from Untamed by Glennon Doyle. And many of us have read this book, and it's really interesting to me how this context keeps crossing. And Glennon, thank you for penning this, because it's really touched a lot of souls and really inspired a lot of thinking and a lot of feeling. And in her chapter called Feeling, she shares that all feelings are for feeling, right? And she shares being fully human is not about feeling happy, it's about feeling everything. So I want to read for you guys 2 paragraphs that talks about feeling everything and being present in the discomfort of the moment, to piggyback on what we talked about last week and getting in touch with our instinct. And this is part of your and my exploration of self-love. So Glennon shares, I can use pain to become. I am here to keep becoming truer, more beautiful versions of myself again and again forever. To be alive is to be a perpetual state of revolution. Whether I like it or not, pain is the fuel of revolution. Everything I need to know to become what I'm meant to be next is inside my feelings of now. Life is alchemy, and emotions are the fire that turns me to gold. I will continue to become only if I resist extinguishing myself 1,000,000 times a day. If I can sit in the fire of my own feelings, I will keep becoming. Consumer culture promises us that we can buy our way out of pain, that the reason we're sad and angry is not being human hurts. It's because we don't have those countertops, her thighs, those jeans. This is a very clever way to run an economy, but it is not a way to run a life. Consuming keeps us distracted, busy, and numb. Numbness keeps us from becoming. So I wanted to end Wellbeing Wednesday this week with that quote again, as we digest this week, coming off of a discussion about intuition, getting back in touch with who we are. And this week I wanted to piggyback on our well-being about the difference between self-care, an external lens, versus self-love, which is coming from that place of stillness and presence and imperfection. Because it's in the imperfection of the present moment that the true growth happens. So anyways, as I said already earlier, I love the connectivity. Please keep it coming. Thank you guys. A bunch of you subscribed to this YouTube channel this past week. Super helpful. Thank you. That was very inspiring to me. So I appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead. And if you'd like this video, that again does help get that algorithm out. Please keep in touch. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what next week brings us. Be well. Thanks. Bye.